Well, hi all, big welcome back to the channel as always. Well, this week it's all about power and energy. We're going to go into our build, we're going to go into costs, we're going to go into the detail really of all our energy needs. Stick with us. So we're going to talk about our latest solar installation and all the electrics, but we're also going to talk about gas and diesel. But first off, Izzy, come on then, let's talk about the solar, the installation.
Okay. So when you look at it, it looks a bit monstrous really, it's quite large, but we were very clear in terms of our specification about what we thought we needed to power all the appliances that we have, which we'll go into in a moment. So in essence, what we have is a 5,000 watt charger inverter, which is connected to a transformer. And the reason we wanted the Quattro is we can have two inlets of power. So we've got one inlet at 230 to come off the UK grid and one at 210 to come off the American grid, if we ever actually get to the States.
Or even 110.
Sorry, 110, thank you. If we ever actually get to the States. So when you look at the setup, the transformer sits on the right, and then the power comes through that into the Quattro, and then obviously goes around the system. So we have, on the roof, we have just over 2,000 watts, not kilowatts, but watts.
I know, I said that the other day. I've been talking about 2 kilowatts, but actually I thought I'll be very specific. It's 2,025 watts. And that's over 5 panels. So basically it's 5 panels of 405 watts.
They're half cell panels, so they're really super efficient. So that comes into the MPPT, and then we also have 600 amp hours at 24 volts of lithium batteries, a couple of Lynx distributors, a Lynx battery management system, and then there's a dropper to drop the voltage coming in from the engine on the B2B, which is takes it from 24 volt down to 12, and then there's quite a big chunky buck boost, which has got its own fan on it. Somebody was asking recently about managing the heat, but that's fine because it actually has its own inbuilt fan, and that will help generate power from the engine when we're driving. So that fundamentally is the system. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when you see it all lined up, it takes up quite a lot of room. So I'm glad that we had that whole space to be able to do that. Yeah.
But let's just go back a little bit in terms of the whole energy needs, because this journey, in terms of the build, obviously we've lived full time for a long time in a truck, and we know our energy needs. And you know, if you live in a van and you understand energy in any way, shape, or form, clearly when the sun shines for long periods of time, it's not a problem. It's only a problem really in the winter months, or you know, if you got snow, for example. And so we always knew that this build was going to be a little bit bigger in terms of appliances and our energy consumption. And so we started the ball rolling really early on with this, and we spoke with Paul at Energy Monkey, and we met Paul at the Overland show.
Funnily, about 4 years ago now. And he was so helpful that we always thought if we did our own build, we'd go back. And basically what Paul did, he took all of our needs and put them into a spreadsheet that works out how many batteries you need to keep you going for however many days you choose that you want to be able to not plug in if it's dull, or there's no sun at all. And we came out with the specification that we have. We also obviously talked about the fact that we wanted to travel in America and we'd want to be able to plug in there at some point in the future. And we went through basically the appliances that we want to run. So I think one of the biggest draws will be the air conditioning, and we know we won't be able to run that 24/7, but I think we feel as long as we can have it on for a couple of hours overnight. And we have actually just fitted that, which was a Truma Saphir. So we've gone for an under bench model, but we went for the bigger model, not the compact one, which does heating as well, although I doubt that we'll use it for that, just because it pumped out a little bit more power.
But it gives us an option.
It does,
I was just going to say, if you go with, so we had a cab-mounted air conditioning unit in the last vehicle, and what I'll say with any of these, and anybody with a sort of roof-mounted system will tell you that they're good to a point. And once it gets really hot, so once it gets up to, the outside temperature is in the region of sort of 35.
It starts to struggle. It 40, doesn't really
40.
Make that much difference.
It'll bring it down by about 10 degrees. So if it's 40 degrees outside, you're still getting 30 degrees. It's pretty much sort of at best.
Although we were grateful for it on many occasions. So the air conditioning's in, and just as a side note, the cab of the new truck does have its own air conditioning battery off the engine, so that will be much better than what we had before. So we've been fitting a washing machine. We've got quite a big fridge going in with a freezer.
Just a quick one on the fridge. I keep interrupting. Just a quick one on this, because we actually did look. We said we're going to put in this really gorgeous fridge, and we've seen this big stainless steel thing with pull-out drawers, and we thought, this is it, that's it. And it was really expensive. We thought, no, you know, it's an important part of what we do. We've got to keep stuff cool in these hot temperatures. But the one we had actually had a twin compressor. And we thought, well, hold on a minute. One compressor is quite power hungry in its own. So we thought, actually, let's look at this. And when we did look at it, we thought, it was huge.
It was double the amount of power that we had anticipated to use for a fridge. So we've actually gone for a Vitrifrigo Slim, it's called, and it's designed to use one compressor and be super efficient. So hopefully that will work well for us. We also want to be able to power our, I can never say this word, calorifier off the immersion. It's when we're, you know, without having to plug in. I don't think we'll need to do that very often, but it just gives us more options. And you'll get that theme as we go through this. It's all about having lots of options. We're also running 2 MacBooks for quite a large period of the day. So we felt like the system that we have is sufficient to run everything and to allow us to be off-grid without any power coming in at all for at least 4 to 5 days. And to not have anything coming in, particularly with the half-cell technology, would be very unusual. So that's basically the system in a nutshell. We've then got, coming off of that, we've got a 230-volt ring for things like the washing machine, the television, all of the stuff we want to plug in.
Like a ring main.
Yeah, and then a 12-volt ring main for things like the fridge, the ignition on the oven.
Pizza,
that sort of stuff. The toilet fan, those sorts of things. And a 12-volt lighting circuit. We haven't got any 24-volt in the truck. We made the decision to go with everything with 12 because the vast majority of things that you want to put into a truck give you a 12 or a 24-volt option.
So in the last truck we had 12 and 24 volt, but a lot of the like as he said, the appliances or these you know, things like the piezo lighter, it's 12 volt. So you're always going to need a dropper from 24 to 12 volt at some point for certain things. So we just thought, right, let's make it really easy. So we've got the power capacity to do that. So it's not a problem.
So our installer, Wilt's Auto Electric, they work very closely with Energy Monkey, and we went with that, even though they're on the other side of the country to us, because we wanted the warranty that the installer provides alongside the Energy Monkey, the Victron warranty, but we also wanted the lifetime support because this stuff, I like to think I know a little bit about it, but a little bit can be dangerous, and it is so complex now. You know, we've got the servo added onto our system as well, and trying to understand how that works is just like a bit mind-blowing.
It just was not. From a safety point of view, you know, previously I was a building inspector, and if there's one thing that you don't mess about with, well, 2 things you don't mess about with really. 1 is gas and 2 is electrics, and there's been a couple of people recently who have done self-installations, and you can get it wrong. You can get things like, you know, the size of the cabling wrong, and you know that can lead to fires and so on. And we wanted the warranty, and we wanted that worldwide support as well.
Yeah, we did.
And we just thought, we had a recommendation for Rich down at Wilt's Auto Elect. You know, he come really highly recommended, and we thought, okay, I know what I want in terms of the installation, so that's why we went down
and I think that's the part of the beauty of the servo as well, because he can dial into that, as long as we've got Wi-Fi, he can dial into that and see what's going on and help to diagnose or understand a problem. And that's a new for us because we didn't have that in the last truck, and I spent quite a lot of time trying to troubleshoot, you know, if anything went wrong, which it didn't very often, but occasionally things happen and you're like, oh, why's that happened? And I felt like I'd spent, you know, quite a lot of time reading about batteries, and it's quite boring really.
Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, okay. So you might be wondering, why haven't we gone all electric? Because we've mentioned gas.
Yeah, and somebody actually left a message the other day and said, what, you know, why are you putting gas in?
Yeah.
And the simple reason is, we like gas.
We do. But
we'll come on to gas in a moment, actually. I've jumped ahead of myself.
You have, and we'll explain why we've made that decision once we've talked about the other sources of power that we're going to use.
So when I talk about basically diesel, we had an Eberspacher hydronic 5 kilowatt heater in the last truck, and we've actually gone with the same again. It's the newer version. It's a D3 5.
No, it's an S3
Sorry,
D5E.
it's an S3. So it's an S3
D5E.
D5. The D is diesel. 5 is 5 kilowatt.
What's the E?
And E, I think the E is maybe electric. Who knows?
You don't know, do you?
I don't know.
But also we've decided to fit the Easy Pro controller with that as well. So when you look at these things, this new system with the Easy Pro controller, it has the element of altitude where you can adjust it so that it doesn't stop working at altitude.
I think if you don't have that, it says it'll only work up to 1,500 meters. Or something like that.
Yeah.
I might be wrong.
Yeah.
But it was something ridiculous, and we just thought, well, that's, for us.
Yeah. But we like the way the S-Bars work. They're really simple. They're pretty mechanical when you break them down.
Well, the old one was. The new one is more electronic.
Oh, okay. Well, fingers crossed that it keeps working.
We'll see. But we have gone new with it.
We have. And you're going to fit that yourself, aren't you?
I am.
Okay. So, well, let's hope he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. So,
but with that, we have... Well, I'm going to let you talk about this because this is your bag. I don't really understand a lot of this, and I can't actually say this word, so you can do that.
So I've fitted a 40 litre calorifier into the void space. So if you have a look, you can see that we have our water tank, and right beside it I've left a space. And I've actually put a hatch in there because we always knew that we were going to have that as our little service area. So we've got our calorifier in there, and it's a twin cowl, which basically means that there's 2 little cowls that go through it. And you can buy it as a single, but we've bought a twin because I'm going to take a feed off the engine. So the coolant system in the engine is going to feed through one of them, and that's going to heat up the hot water when we're on the move.
So we'll always have hot water when we arrive, which is great.
Yeah, and then the other one is going to be basically fed from the Eberspacher. So what will happen then is that'll basically heat the hot water, and from that we will have a wet central heating system as well. It's almost like a domestic system you'd have in your house. So we're going to have wet on the floor heating, we're going to have Aldi fins up around the seating area, and we're also going to have a little radiator in the toilet as well. So there shouldn't be any stage at which we're ever cold.
No, I think we've got lots of options to heat the area, but we're also fitting a Chinese diesel heater as well because it's a really good backup. It cost about 120 quid.
And if I can just say, I was so skeptical. I fitted one in the last truck, and I was so skeptical.
You were.
And I did loads and loads of research, watched endless amounts of YouTube videos, and thought, people sort of cut them in half, and looking at all the fail safes, and I thought, actually, okay, let's give it a go. And it was fantastic. We never had a problem with it. We just thought, this is bloody great, this thing.
And it gives you a bit of instant heat. If you want to get up in the morning and it's a little bit chilly, it just takes the chill off. It has a remote control, so you can start it.
I'd lie in bed, just pop it on, and within 10-15 minutes, the place was warm, and it was really good. And I've got a lot of time for them, so we've actually bought another one. So the difference is 125 quid for this Chinese diesel heater, or sort of 800 odd quid for a Eberspacher or a Weber
to go in. Yeah, we did look at that twin sort of system where you could have both, and I think we just decided that we don't use it enough.
We have gone cheap with it, but the other thing I can do as well is when we're driving, I can actually from the cab. It's not fitted yet, but basically I'm going to fit a little control in that. I'll put a pump on the system as well, so it's going to pump around hot water into the wet sort of heating system. So the box, by the time we get to our destination, should be nice and toasty.
Yeah.
So, and just a very quick one on the power of that. Obviously, if you're running diesel heating, then there is a power demand from that as well in terms of the glow plugs. So just something to be aware of.
And the pumps.
On the pumps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the calorifier also operates as an immersion heater too. So if we're plugged in or we have lots of solar coming in and we want hot water, we haven't moved for a few days, we can turn it on that way. It's
a quiet solution, if you like. It's a 1,000 watt element, so we can easily power that from our system.
And particularly if I mean, we've very rarely gone to a campsite, but we had an experience when we were travelling before on a campsite, turning on the diesel heater to get hot water.
No, people don't like them.
The people next to us complained very loudly, and I can sort of understand that because they are quite noisy.
Yeah.
I think they thought we were going to run it all night. Obviously, put it on for half an hour and you've got hot water. But yeah, it just gives us lots of different options of staying warm, basically.
Yeah.
And the final option, not necessarily deliberately of staying warm, but is gas. And we've fitted gas because A, we had the space in the chassis to put a small tank in. B, we like to cook on gas. We like to grill outside on gas. But we also had that situation, some of you will remember, in Spain. Was that last year? It was last year when we were on the way to Morocco and our diesel heater broke.
It was.
And we were
January.
Not the Chinese diesel heater, but the other one. And we were waiting for a part to arrive. And so we were able to stay warm with the Chinese diesel heater, although we could have put the oven on, which would heat up the space really well. But it also meant we could have hot water. We just needed to boil a kettle on the gas hob.
Yeah.
So I think for us, it just feels like, you know, gas is cheap. It was relatively easy to fit the tank. It's 30 litres, which will probably last us a year if all we use it for is cooking and, you know, boiling a kettle.
Along with the induction.
Yes. So I think, you know, we feel like if something goes wrong with one of our systems, that we've got another system to back that up. And that's the reason we decided not to go all electric.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to be out in the middle of nowhere with no heat.
And not just that, about 2 years ago, we were in northern Turkey. I think it was about February or March.
It was early March.
And we had almighty snow.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. We were actually in the mountains, and the forecast was for really consistent snow day after day.
If you want to see that, go back and look at the Turkey videos because it was quite phenomenal.
And we thought, right, number one, we need to get off the mountains because the roads were going to be treacherous. So we drove down to the coast, and it snowed right to the water's edge. And we literally, although we had a big bank of batteries, and it's fine initially, so you get there and think, oh, we're fine, not an issue. Because of course you got nothing coming in. We woke up and it was literally just a blanket of snow. So we've got no solar coming in at the minute, and this is on all day. So I've no choice but to get on the roof and try and clear the snow. Probably have to do that a couple of times today. So if we want anything to come in, I mean, it's pretty thick. I'm not sure how much we're actually going to get in, but something's better than nothing. So I've cleared the solar panels, and as quickly as I clear them, well, they're just covered again. So yeah, it's definitely not ideal, but we've got lots of diesel, lots of heat, we're nice and toasties, and lots of food. So there's a couple of little shops in the village, so I think we might just have to haul up here for a bit longer. I cleared the snow. It was still snowing within 10 minutes. You can, you know, have a look on your screen and think, hold on a minute. You know, you can just sort of see the incoming solar going down, and I just couldn't keep them clear. And so we couldn't move because, you know, there's so much snow on the ground, it was treacherous, so we couldn't charge the batteries through the Orion. So I sort of think, bloody hell.
I think we were actually turning the fridge off every night, weren't we? On the basis that it was pretty cold outside anyway.
Yeah.
But, you know, the fridge is quite power hungry and would be our biggest use of power overnight.
There was zero. There was nowhere sort of, you know, we couldn't go in the campsite because it's northern Turkey, all the campsites are closed.
There was nowhere, was there?
There was just nowhere.
It was,
and if you were all electric, you would have really struggled.
Yeah, and in the end we moved, probably maybe before we really wanted to, before the roads were clear, because we had to.
Yeah.
We needed to generate some power. So yeah, I think that was a time where we've come away from that thinking, okay, we don't want to be in that position.
So I think really experience has sort of taught us, you know, not to put all our eggs in one basket, and that's really sort of the driver really for this installation and sort of what we've gone for. So I think probably the big question on everybody's mind is how much did all that cost? So for all of the kit, the electrical kit, the vast majority of which is Victron, and it's a brand we really rate, all of the plumbing stuff, the 2 diesel heaters, a little bit of fabrication work, brackets here and there, the gas tank, and all the bits that go with that, the installation of the electrical stuff and the gas installer as well, because we will have that done properly, all came in at about 25,000. It feels like a huge amount of money. Well, it is, and it, you know, it's a quarter of our budget, but it's a big part of what we need. You can't live in a truck without. Can I just say it's a quarter of the original budget? Oh yeah. Yeah, it's not a quarter of the entire budget. Yeah, look, if you've watched this, you know that we set out to build this truck for 100k. Forget that. Yeah. That's out the window. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, the original budget was if we say 25%, 25 grand. Yeah. So that's
and actually, I mean, the cost of the electrical stuff did actually come down between when we specified it in December and when we actually bought it in March, because the price of lithium came down.
Oh, really?
And it's one of the few things where we've actually paid less than we expected to. But still, it's a lot of money. Yeah. But we decided we wanted to do it properly, and
yeah, it's important.
For us, it was just what we had to pay.
I think as well, that experience, we're out in Georgia and Armenia, and you're sat up in the mountains, in really remote places. You need this stuff to work. You can't be faffing about with it.
Yeah.
And our plan is to go further afield. We want to do Africa, north to south. We will go to the Americas. And I suppose you just need that peace of mind that when you are traveling, it's one less thing to sort of worry about. So having it installed properly, having the right equipment. You can't faff about this sort of stuff. So particularly in extremes of weather. Mm. So right.
Are we done?
I think we're done.
As always, if you've got any questions, drop us a line. We're always happy to respond.
Yeah. And God, I think it's one of these areas that if you're in the scene, whether you're in a camper van, motorhome, truck, whatever, we all need energy of some sort. And it's such a sort of big thing. I think some people go, it's a ridiculous amount of money, and it is. And we didn't set out to spend that amount of money, but at the moment, what we found is stuff's expensive.
Yeah.
Generally, not just on the electrical side, just fabrication, the whole thing. It has gone up a little bit.
It has. Really. It has. So I mean, we're really on a bit of a mission now to try and cut costs wherever we can. But there are some things you just can't cut the cost on. The cost is the cost,
Anyway.
That's obviously time for us to go.
On that note, all right, we'll say goodbye.
Give us a like.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye for now.